Welcome to the Hustler's Handbook podcast. I'm Easton. In this show, we explore the stories of relentless go-getters, uncovering the secrets behind their success. We talk life, work, and everything in between. The highs, the lows, and the grit it takes to keep pushing forward. Tune in and get inspired right here on the Hustler's Handbook podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Hustler's Handbook podcast. I'm your host, Easton Johnson. Today's guest is radio personality, professional mentor, and host/producer of his very own podcast, Seahawks Man to Man, Christopher Kidd. Christopher, welcome to the show.
What is going on with you guys? How are you doing, my man?
Good. Really appreciate you joining us today. So just give us a little bit of detail and background about yourself and what led your passion for sports lead you into a career of sports radio.
Man, where do I begin? So growing up as a kid, I grew up in South Seattle, went to public school K through second grade, and then transferred to a private school known as St. Therese over there in the Central District. So third grade through eighth grade, I was in private school, and I was known as the talker in the classroom, someone that wouldn't shut up. Just, Chris, shut up. You talk too much. And I didn't think anything of it. If you asked me going into eighth grade, do you see yourself doing sports radio? I would have looked at you and been laughing because that wasn't something I was thinking of. I had never listened to sports radio growing up. I was into music, into sports, just entertainment, I guess is the way to look at it, and never really thought much about it. And got to high school, the stigma stuck of you talk too much, you laugh a lot, you're silly. So nothing really clicked. And once I graduated and realized I wasn't going to a four-year university as all my friends were, it kind of hit in. Damn, I've been average my whole life, never really worked hard enough to do anything, was just getting by. So the whole joke of C's get degrees. I was that high school student that had a bunch of C's, but I got my degree, went to O'Day High School, a prominent private school, all boys, and sure, I had an opportunity to run track and all these other things, but that didn't happen. And now I'm sitting here thinking, dang, just graduated, about to be 18 in the summer. So what do I do? And my mom was, you should probably go to community college, which we had talked about before, but I didn't want to do that. I did not want to go to a CC while my friends were going all over the U.S., Washington State, going to the East Coast, getting the full college experience. So I sucked it up and ended up going to a community college and started thinking about what I wanted to do. And the first thought was, I'll become a police officer. I know a lot of people in the hood. You know, I'm a community guy. Everybody knows me, and I can see myself doing that. And then I started thinking, I said, damn, when have I ever seen a 5'4", 135, 40-pound police officer? And I say, that's not going to happen. No one's going to take me serious. If I pull a dude over that, 6'3", hop out the car, it might be a problem. He might want to try to take me, and I'm not trying to deal with that. So I was actually, when I went to South Seattle Community College, I was studying criminal justice, transferred to Bellevue because I just didn't like the fact that everybody was getting loans. All my friends were getting loans. And I was asking them, how much does your mom and dad make? And they're like, X, Y, and Z. I said, man, your parents are making X amount more than mine, and I'm not getting no financial aid. I was really confused. And I talked to a couple of homies. There were twin brothers that actually went to Bellevue College, and they said, yeah, Chris, come over here, bro. They'll give you whatever you need, bro. You'll be able to come to this school, and you won't have to worry too much about it. You'll get a bunch of grants, probably get some loans. And sure enough, I go to Bellevue. I do a visit. I met with a counselor and talked about financial aid, and she told me, well, you'll definitely be fine here. So I made the transfer, and then that's when I switched from criminal justice to communications because, as I mentioned before, growing up, I was talking a lot, and I felt, okay, this might be the opportunity for me, whether I'm in public speaking, whether it's, I don't know, podcasting, whatever it may be, I might have an opportunity here. Now, this is around 2013. Nope, actually, 2013 when I went to Bellevue. So 2013, I went to Bellevue College, and everything kind of started clicking from there. I started realizing, wow, I'm pretty good at this communication stuff. I can be a writer maybe. Okay. But public speaking, I'm getting comfortable with. I don't mind doing presentations. I'm not afraid of an audience per se. Obviously, I'll get nervous, but I wasn't, oh my gosh, I can't do this, and freaking out. I know a lot of people have a fear of public speaking or in general. So for me, I found, okay, this might be something. And I ended up getting my associate arts degree. And through those 3 years of Bellevue College, I kept talking to my counselor about where could I go to continue my education in communications. And she mentioned Washington State University. And I had a couple of friends that had transferred out of Bellevue College to WSU. So in my head, I was thinking communications, Washington State. She was telling me how great it was. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. So I ended up applying. My GPA as much better. I went from a 2.0 type student to damn near a 3.0 just because of the effort that I was putting in the classroom. And I realized, oh, I can do this. My mom wasn't blowing smoke in my head. I just had to put in the effort. So when I applied, I'll never forget, I got that big package. You know, when you get accepted to a college, they send you a bunch of stuff. So I saw the big package and I just knew I got accepted. And it was obviously because I'm a transfer student. I got my associate arts degree. All those things look great, but I really earned it. And from there, I realized, okay, communications is it. I got to get my foot in the door. I don't know how, but I'm going to do it some way. And from there, I had to take a couple of communication courses, and I learned about podcasting. I learned about radio. I learned about doing your own radio show. I learned about all these things, and I started finding out what was interesting to me. And I also wanted to do sports management. That was my minor. And I was thinking, okay, maybe I could work in the NFL or the NBA doing something. I don't know what it might be, but I was interested in working in sports because, again, as I mentioned, I'm 5'4", $140 in college. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm not going to be able to be a cop. I'm not going to make it to the league in anything. So how can I still be a part of the professional scene without being a player, without being an athlete? And there were plenty of jobs that I was researching, looking up. And it just became something where I remember the start of my junior year at Washington State. I realized, okay, I got to get some radio experience. And lucky enough, they had a student ran radio station on campus. And all you had to do was go to a few meetings and basically just give your own show. And you can test it out to see if it's something you are interested in. And you want to talk about nerves? Oh, man, I still have my first show that I ever did, and it was bad. It was brutal. Every time I go back and listen to it, I go, wow, you got to start somewhere. A lot of a lot of knows. I wasn't very comfortable with speaking to whoever was listening at that time. But as I got better at it and kept practicing, it just became normal. And I ended up getting 2 different co-hosts. One of them, he's actually a police officer over in Tennessee, but he did the show with me. His name is Corey Williams. So shout out to Corey. That was my first co-host. And then another homie, his name is Najee Ali. He's back in the Seattle area. I believe he's teaching over at Rainier Valley Middle School. And he's doing fabulous work, working with kids in the gym, making sure they are reaching their goals. So shout out to Najee and shout out to Corey. Those are my 2 first radio co-host, and they were with me for the journey, mistakes and all, having the music potted up too loud so no one can hear you, just all of these issues that you're supposed to make when you're doing your first radio show at a college. And I had a few listeners, it'd be my mom, a couple of friends, and it felt good. I was doing something that I was really enjoying. And then the reality kicked in. Well, you're not going to get a job fresh out of college. That's just not how it works unless you have connections. And I had a few connections, but nothing that was going to allow me to jump right into radio or sports in general. So I graduated with a clean slate. I had a degree, but now all these connections, how am I going to make this connect and how am I going to leapfrog into the industry? And luckily enough, I had a mindset of, I'm going to start a podcast. I don't know how, but that's what I'm going to do. And this is in 2016. So podcasting, it wasn't, being a local podcaster was unknown. If you were doing it, you had to have been you had to be a celebrity pretty much. I'll be honest. If you weren't popping, why would you start a podcast? I wasn't popping, but I knew I wanted to do it. So at the time, there was 3 gentlemen that went to the same high school as me and one that went to Renton High School. And we had a group chat. We'd be arguing about sports all the time. I'm talking NBA Finals comes up. We in the group chat texting, yelling at each other. And the funny thing is we all worked at Finish Line together. So growing up, my first real job was retail. And obviously it was at Finish Line at South Center. And we would connect there. And that's how we all started being friends. And as that grew, I talked to them about doing a podcast. They were, oh, yeah, let's do it, bro. We in. Now, it sounded good, right? Everybody wants to do it. It sounds good. But as you get older, reality starts kicking in. Am I getting paid for this? It's damn near a job. You're spending hours talking, communicating, setting up shows. I'm doing all the editing. So it's time consuming. And I remember before we launched our podcast with my 4 friends, we had a big meeting and we met up at one of my friend's girlfriend's house at the time. And I remember before the meeting starts, she came to me and she said, you do know this ain't going to work, right? You know what's going to happen. It's not, you guys, some people are just going to drop out. And I said, you're probably right. But for me, it looks good on my resume. And I was a leader of this. I'm the producer. I'm hosting with these guys. I'm giving them an opportunity to do something that I don't think they'd be able to do. And sure enough, we started doing it and it was great. We were doing it once a week in my parents' basement. I used to have we used to close the door. I used to put a piece of paper on the wall and says live recording in session. I need y'all to shut up upstairs. Like we were really doing it. And they would come over I want to say it was every Wednesday from around 6 to 8 p.m. We would be recording and we would talk NBA, NFL, high school, all the way up to the pros. And our podcast name was Jukes and Hoops. So you can imagine Jukes for football, hoops for basketball. And it was a great run. And I enjoyed it. Unfortunately, it did come to an end just because we're getting older. Guys is now 24, 25. They're making money. They got a new job. Oh, I'm not available on this day. Oh, I can't do it on this day. So 11 months in, it's now just me and another guy, just 2 of us. Started off at 4. 11 months later, down to 2. And at that point, I said, look, I appreciate you wanting to do this, me and you, but we can't continue to do this anymore just because we're not a whole team. It doesn't make sense. People would listen because it's all of us. Now, I'm not acting as if we had hundreds of thousands of followers. We didn't. But we were building something. And I learned a lot about that process and the work that it takes to start a podcast. And your ego takes a hit because you might have a couple hundred followers and now you only look and there's 30 people that listened. And I was like, damn, only 30 people listened? It's like, hey, bro, how many of y'all promoted it? That's another thing, promotion.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys weren't going on Twitter at the time, weren't going on Instagram and talking about the show. I would be the only one doing it. So we had another meeting before everything fell apart. And I said, yo, you guys got to promote the show. Promote it. Like, I know it's weird when you talk about yourself and say, hey, come check us out. But you might get 1 to 2 people that might check it out. And then word of mouth, it spreads. And I remember it got to the point where I kept pushing people to promote the show between us. And I remember getting texts from homies like, hey, man, I'm really enjoying your guys' content. Can I come on the show? Like, oh, well, yeah, you could. Absolutely. I don't mind it. And we would have guests every now and then. And I would never reach out to them. It was cool that people listened to us and wanted to join our show. And that's what I thought was cool. I said, hey, we might not have 3,000 listens. We might only have 157, but we're growing, we're getting better. And now people want to join in on conversation. And that's all we really wanted. We wanted people to join in and disagree and have fun with us and talk sports. That's what it was all about. And it came to an end, but it was a great run. And every now and then I'll post our cover art on social media and they'll hit me. I'm like, damn, man, that was a great run. I wish you were still doing it. Because, man, I saw a vision of doing high school games because high school, anybody can go.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk to the young kids, and I can only imagine if I was running track in high school and someone wanted to come rap with me after I just won districts. I don't care if it's a no-name podcast. They want to talk to me after I just won. I'm going to be excited. And that's what I had envisioned. And it's not happening today, which says someone can go out there and do it. It's 2024. I don't know of a podcast that's putting high school kids on a nice little pedestal and showing off their skill set. Basketball, football, track and field, you name it. But that's what I envisioned. And it didn't come true. It didn't happen, but I learned a lot in that process. And after learning that, And doing that podcast for 11 months, I had a friend who now works for The Athletic. His name is Mike Dugar. He covers the Seahawks via The Athletic. At the time, he was working for the Seattle PI. And he had been on, I'll say this, he had listened to a couple of my shows. And then also, while doing that podcast, Jukes and Hoops, I launched another podcast with Donald Watts, who is the son of former Sonic Slick Watts.
Slick, yeah.
Yeah, he was my mentor growing up. He was my mentor, my coach. He was the one that allowed me to take my basketball game to the next level and gave me confidence that I could do it at 5'4". So I kept pushing, and I never really lost touch with him. But when I got back, he also wanted to do a podcast. So to double back, when I graduated, I started my podcast with my homies, and then I was doing a podcast with him. And then I also had my boy Mike Dugar. He joined in on 2 episodes with Donald Watts and I. And that podcast, it was called The Real Spill. And Mike came on twice. And I knew he was covering the Seahawks. And in the back of my head, I was always envisioning doing a podcast with him covering the Seahawks. And it's crazy how you manifest things, and it's all in your head. And I was never going to go, hey, Mike, man, you want to hop on the mic and we do a podcast covering the Seahawks? I wanted him to say, oh, damn, Chris is good at doing what he does. I like what he's doing. I would love to work with him. And I kid you not, maybe about a month later, he texts me, hey, bro, they want me to do a podcast. They're trying to pay me X amount of dollars to do it, but I'm not about to talk to myself for a whole hour. You down to do it? And I said, bro, let's go. And I started off doing the Seahawks Man to Man podcast via V Sporto. I don't think this company is no longer existing, but that's where we started. And I was getting $25 a show just to talk Seahawks. And I fell in love with it. It was, this is where I'm at. This is what I want to do. And I remember our first draft we covered was the 2017 Seahawks draft. Shaquille Griffin, all these young guys, the quote unquote new Legion of Boom.
Yeah.
And our pod just started rolling. We were doing okay. And I was, okay, this is what it's like to be a producer and podcaster. And this is still early in the podcasting game. God, it's 2017. That's almost 8 years ago, 7 years ago, 7, 8 years ago. So it's a very long time ago. And we were doing it. And while one podcast fell away with the Jukes and Hoops, I gained another big one that I'm still doing to this day. And doing that podcast really set me up because I was still doing the Real Spill, and I was doing it out of Donald's. He was in a nice building, and it had rent space. It was huge, and we would go in there and record. And then come to find out, he's on the radio once a week talking NBA and UW basketball. So he said, bro, we can dead all this. How about we just go to KJR and do our show? I said, like the radio station? He's like, yeah, I know a couple of dudes there. I got it. I'm on their show once a week anyway, so I can get it done. And sure enough, about a month and a half later, I meet the assistant program director at KJR, and Donald's like, hey, he can produce, he can do it all. Whatever you need, he can do it. And I was like, damn, that was a great reference. And
yeah, for real.
The assistant program director told me, hey, we don't have anything open right now, but you're more than welcome to use our studios. And he wanted to know my background. I said, self-taught producer. Went on YouTube, learned, and was stressed. But here I am producing in a radio station, this podcast with Donald Watts. And then have my own podcast equipment that I worked with for the Seahawks Man to Man with my boy Mike. And we did that for about a year out of the radio station over and over again. That kind of fell to the side. But I remember I had Shockey's number, and he texted me about an opportunity. He said, I can get you in the building. And I said, I'll take the job. Come to find out it was doing traffic. So I was a traffic producer, 5 a.m. till around 11 a.m. But it sucked, but I was in the building. So I knew, okay, I'm in the building. I'm in iHeart. I'm just across the way. And I remember when I would get off at 10 o'clock, I would always see Cliff Averill walking in to do his morning show, Cliff and Puck, 10 to 1 on KJR. I would always see him and say, what's up? Like, what's good, bro? And I was in the building. So I knew I was getting closer. Didn't know when. The backstory on that, I applied for the job once and didn't get it and was heartbroken because I thought, what? I've been producing for X amount of years. How did I get this job? But they went with someone else. How it works out is crazy because I wanted to quit. I'm not going to lie. I was still doing the Seahawks Man to Man podcast, still doing Jukes and Hoops. That was coming to an end, but I just thought I was going to land this job at KJR, but I didn't get it. So I continued doing the Seahawks man-to-man, continued working, continued grinding. And like as I said, I'm in the building now. So I've been in the building for maybe 10 months maybe, and I get a text saying, hey, this was after the big snowstorm in 2019. I don't know if you remember that snowstorm we had in February, but it was nasty. And in 2019, I got a text that morning, like the day when it started getting better. He said, hey, I have an opening, and you're going to be the assistant morning producer for Chuck and Buck in the morning. And I just was elated. I was excited because I am now transitioning over into sports radio. And I'm getting closer and closer to radio producer. And sure enough, I said, hell yeah, I'll take it. Another morning shift, but I'm in the building. So from 2019 till around August of 2020, I was the morning producer, assistant producer. So I had to do one big segment. That was my job. And it was a hefty segment, but I had to do it pretty much on my own. And I did it every day, did a really good job. The host, his name is Chuck Powell. He raved about the work that I would do. He told me face to face. He was really proud of the work that I was putting in. And I don't know if he had anything, I don't know if he mentioned that to the higher ups, but in 2020 of, I want to say around August, I remember they basically said, hey, Chris, do you want to produce your own show? I said, what? I've only been here a few months. I'm getting my own producing. Like, yeah, we'll give you the reins for Cliff and Puck. And I said, yep. And it's crazy how it all worked out. The person that they hired previously, because remember I told you I didn't get the job at first when I first applied, and I was just pissed because I'm thinking, how did I not get it? I've been producing podcasts for the last 3 years. I'm killing it. This is my lane. I know what I'm doing. Like, this is perfect for me. So the same person that they hired, they are now letting go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a cutthroat business. So the person that they hired, he was doing the afternoon show, the drive home show. And they had the producer 10 to 1 show was then going to move from 10 to 1 to the drive time. What is that? 3 to 7. And then I was going to fill in the slot for 10 to 1. The 6 a.m. producer, now he's doing his own thing. I felt kind of bad, but at the same time, my opportunity was there, so I had to take it. And I took it. And I worked on the Cliff and Puck show for 3 years before Cliff left, got a new host. And then we land at this current situation now where I have been thrusted into the role of host and producer now. But that just shows the progression. I went from doing podcasts to getting introduced to the assistant program director, who is now the program director of a radio station in Denver. So all these things just kind of fell in line for me. And it has been quite the journey, but it was worth it. I did not think I'd be here. My parents now, we heard you, we listened to the show, cousins, bro, I hear you on the radio, it's hella dope. And sometimes I don't realize how cool it is just to be a personality that's just on the radio talking sports. And I've been doing it now for a few months. It's a challenge, but challenge accepted. You have to watch sports, obviously. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to be confident. And not everybody's going to like it. I get that. You're going to have your people that support you, people that hate you, people that love you. It is what it is. As long as you enjoy doing what you're doing, and that's where I'm at with it. But it's been a journey, and I wouldn't change it for the world. It's crazy how things work out, but here I am now, as I said, producer and co-host of the Greg Bell Show with Christopher Kidd, Monday through Friday, 10 to noon. I can't make it up. It's crazy how it works out, but I have to admit, podcasting, knowing the right people, and doing the work. Because I could have said, I want to be in radio, but I'd be working at Enterprise. How are you putting yourself in position to go work at a radio station when you're selling whips, when you're renting out vehicles to folks? It doesn't work. So I had to find the hustle, do the podcast, still find a job that pays me to do something, whatever it is, and be able to manage and juggle that. And I was able to do that. And it's not easy, but I'm a living example of, if you do it, I promise you good things will come from it. And that's exactly how it happened. I did it. I was still working a full-time job, but on the side, I'm out here doing a podcast, doing multiple. People that are doing really well for themselves. As I mentioned, Mike Dugard noticed the hustle. We had been friends before. We had argued about sports before. So it was no question he would be, you know what, I'll reach out to Chris, see if he wants to do it. And they're paying me. Where can I sign? So that just grew into something. And here we are almost 7-8 years later, still doing the podcast. We're heading back into training camp. So come late July, we'll be back to weekly shows and the grind continues.
Mm-hmm. So from doing like all the producing and all the like grind and grunt work, like what has helped you maintain the consistency and wanting to stay motivated? Because obviously it's a lot of work that you're doing in the background. What has maintained your consistency with all that?
Where else can I go with this? How high up can I go? Can I get my own show? Which I'm a co-host now of a show. So for me, it's how far can I go? I'm enjoying it too. That's another thing. I love it. It's fun. Again, I get to talk on the radio for 2 hours every day about sports.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining. I'm not out here making $200,000 a year, which would be nice, but I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And I think so many people get caught up in how much money they can make versus do I really enjoy what I'm doing? Now, I'm not knocking nobody, but I know if I can make $70,000 a year and I love it, I'll probably make it. I'll be all right. I know it might not be the greatest thing when you live in Pacific Northwest because everything is expensive, but if you play your cards right, you can definitely make it work for sure. But I also made a lot of money at a job that I didn't like, and I couldn't stand it. I could still work there and be making hundreds and thousands of dollars a year, but my brain couldn't take it. I would come home complaining, crying. This is trash. I couldn't do it. The money was cool. I'm not gonna lie. If I was still there, I'd probably be I would be a manager because that's what they were setting it up for. But I just couldn't do it. It wasn't fun anymore. I was like, bruh, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I don't know how y'all do this. But when them dollar signs add up, you're like, damn, I get how they do it.
Yeah,
you can make a pretty penny. So I made the decision, I'm going to try to find something I love to do. And if I can make money off of it, great. If I can't, okay, we're going to figure something else out. But for now, I'm loving what I do, and it's sports radio, podcast production, and I can't complain. So that's what keeps me motivated, is knowing that there's still more to go. My story doesn't end here. I could become anything pretty much in this scenario. I've done a few television hits thanks to knowing the right people. My boy Mike knows a gentleman that works for Cairo that has seen or heard or whatever to our podcast. I said, hey, let's do some TV. So I've done over the last 2 years, 4 or 5 TV hits talking Seahawks. Got paid for that too. So it's all been just a great opportunity, and who knows what could happen in 10 years. Maybe I'll try to get on with TV. But I'll tell you this, the grind and putting in the work has presented itself to do these things, because had I not, I wouldn't be doing a podcast with the Seahawks. I wouldn't be doing any of this. I'd probably be still slinging vehicles at Enterprise and grinding, working my ass off, making good money, but I'd come home pissed off every day because I'm dealing with people that are entitled to things that they think are these vehicles. It's just a lot. So I personally can't do it. Shout out to my homies that are still working there, that are now branch managers, bringing in the bacon. They can do it. It's not for everybody. And I realized after 11 months that it ain't for me. But that's partly why I ended up quitting, because I for sure was like, oh, I'm going to land a job at KJR. Didn't land it. Now I have no job. So now my mom said, just sit on the couch. You've been busting your butt for the last 4 years. You went to WSU. You got your degree. You started working immediately. Just take a break. I took a month off, and that was great. I really got to just sit on the couch for a month. After that month, though, I had to get to it. I had to get the bacon again. And I had connections, and I got a quick job. And then that process started again. So the motivation again is, where can I go from here? Where can I go? I don't know where it might be, but I know if I put my head down and I grind, where I'm at now has shown that it has worked. These past 10 years. I was going to ask that. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, I was just going to say that these last 10 years have shown that hard work has put me in this position. And it's crazy.
And that was my question. Do you do you think the hard work and the consistency separates yourself from other people? Because you're working in two industries that are very, popular, podcasting and sports radio. What do you think, what separates yourself from anybody else that's doing that type of stuff, especially podcasting?
My personality, I'm fun to work with. If you go to KJR and ask who's someone that's fun to work with, whether he's producing or you just see him it's me, my personality, and I enjoy doing it. And that's things you just can't get everywhere. Some people are duds. They're just like, bruh, I see them. But you see me, it's like you smile. Oh, what's up, Chris? Like that's the energy I bring to the building. And it's valuable. Now, I'm not the highest paid man there, but they see something, they see value in it, and they've kept me this long. Because I'm not going to lie. I've been through cuts. And I was like, damn, they're going to fire me because I'm a producer. I'm making minimum wage running a show. They can find another 21-year-old that can do the same thing. Once you get in the building, you're expendable unless you bring something to the table, which my energy, my passion, my hard work, I never say no. Very rarely do I say no. When they need, hey, Chris, can you do this? Hey, yep. I make sure that, damn, Chris has said yes to almost everything we've ever asked. That sticks with them. They remember those, hey, Chris, can you do this on Saturday? Yeah, I can do it. There have been stuff that I've missed because I've been working on weekends. But now I'm at a stage where I'm kind of now getting into that hosting, co-host role where my shift now is literally those few hours that I'm on the air. Outside of doing a little production, I am now transitioning myself to a co-host. And the goal would be full-time co-host. So now they're not asking me to come do a shift in production. Now it would be, hey, we want to send you somewhere to do a show. So it's different now. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
That's cool, man. And it's cool to really hear the whole the transition from like podcasting, starting at the very beginning and working your way through and staying consistent. And it actually works. So many people would be like, oh, this fell through. Maybe this isn't for me. So maybe I should just move on,
Well,
but
the thing is,
maintain that consistency.
Remember, I didn't get the job at first, so I could have easily quit. But shout out to my girlfriend, now my fiance at the time, she told me it's not your time yet. And hearing those words, not your time yet, it really resonated because, okay, I've only been doing it for 3 years. I get it. But what if the person that they hired has been doing it for 6? You're going to take 3 years or 6 years. Sometimes it comes down to that. I had the connections too. Because remember, I got in the building with the connection. But sometimes just having the experience, it changes things for me, for anyone. So for anyone listening that's passionate about something that they're doing, whether it's entrepreneurship, whatever it is, just because it doesn't start off the way you want it, doesn't mean you won't get there in 5-10 years. It takes time and consistency. I could have easily quit. I'm not going to lie. I could be some branch manager. I could be at finish line as a manager, whatever. But I decided I'm going to keep thugging it out, keep grinding, and see what happens. And sometimes you need a little luck, and it happened. I had a little luck in there, but ultimately the work and perseverance paid off at the end.
So productivity-wise, because you're going, you did bring up prior to the podcast that you put your phone away. Like, you don't mess with your phone. Can you put in more detail about that?
Yeah, so when I'm working, no phone. Because it's very easy. I can pull my phone right now and just be doing stuff, but the phone distracts you. It really can get in the way of, you can find yourself reading. You grab your phone, you are now on your phone. And you look at the clock, you have been on your phone for a whole hour. So imagine if you're producing a podcast and you grab your phone while you're supposed to be editing and getting clips ready, and you grab your phone. You're going to get sucked into Instagram, to TikTok. Well, I don't be on TikTok, but I know those are things that just suck you in with the videos, with the hilarious stuff, with the content that is for you, the content that you want to see. I play flag football. So a lot of my content, if I go to my search, it's going to be flag football. It's going to be football. It's going to be ab workouts, pull-ups, push, all this stuff to get you sucked in. So for me, when I'm working, I have to put it away. The only time I use my phone technically is during the season, during the NFL season, because I am tweeting. I am using my phone for work. It's not so much I'm on it to just be on it. But once the game ends, I go on my laptop and I am reading stats. I'm reading everything I can about the game, and I'm not using my phone. Only time I use my phone is to talk to Mike about certain things that we might want to discuss on the show after the game. But other than that, my phone is put away. And that's even with my mentoring job. I work with teens, and their big thing is they're on their phone. You will be in a conversation with them and they'll be, yeah, yep. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I need to show them that I can put my phone away. So I try not to have my phone with them just to show them that, oh, Chris is never on his phone. I can do that too. They haven't picked up on it as much as I'd like them to, but then that's a good exercise for me just to sometimes put the phone away. I even try before I go to bed not to be on my phone as much, but I have failed at that. And that's something I want to get better at. But the phone is a distraction. And when I say put it down, I just mean when you're working in your space, you don't need your phone. You're working. Unless there's an emergency, they will contact you. 9 times out of 10, you can put your phone away for a few hours and get what you need to get done. So when I'm editing, even when I'm on other people's platforms, I try not to have my phone on me. I try not to be texting because it looks really weird. I've seen podcasts where people are potting and they're
think they're Adam Schefter.
Man, and it's for me, it's a distraction because I'm thinking, well, aren't you supposed to be giving us information, entertaining us, any of that? But instead, you're, yeah, bro. Hey, did you? And to me, I don't think that's cool. So for me, when I'm working, it's hands on deck. Whatever I'm focused on doing, that's what I'm doing. It's working. The phone is a distraction. And that's one way to eliminate getting caught off guard and doing a bunch of other stuff. Staying away from your phone, putting it away. So I do a really good job of when I'm working podcasting, working with the youth, I put my phone, even the radio. Sometimes I will see other producers and their heads are down and they are just on their phone. Now imagine you already have, a co-host with you, but you and your co-host are talking and your producer has his head down and he's just on his phone. And maybe you wanted to ask him a question. Granted, producers don't really talk on the air that much, but on our station, it's welcomed. No one's going to say, you're a producer, stop talking. Obviously, when I first got there, my job was, hey, your job is to make sure this show runs smooth. You don't need the mic right now. But after a year, after about 10 months, I graduated to, okay, you can speak on the mic. But we don't want this to be the such and such show with because it's not, you're a producer right now. But as I got better, okay, now it's, as I mentioned, Greg Bell Show with Christopher Kidd. I have more of an opportunity to speak my mind, and that's the growth. But it's distracting. I remember walking by and seeing a producer just head down, and the host is looking at him, but there's no interaction. So now he's like, that's a dud. Okay, what can I look at? Because sometimes it's all about just looking at someone and getting their reaction and things of that nature. And when your producer got their head down on the phone, okay, well, where do I go to next? Oh, the co-host. So again, the phones are a distraction. I'm telling you. So for me, being able to work in a space in radio and in podcasting where I put my phone away. Because how rude would it be if I was just on my phone texting and trying to talk to you? You'd probably be like, yeah, I'm not going to air this. This is very awkward. He's not interested.
This now.
Yeah, he's not interested. Our listeners are probably wondering why he's even on the show. So for me, I take that with any and everything. You ever been to the mall and gone to a kiosk and the person's on their phone? They look like they want to sell you anything? Probably not. Whereas versus someone else that will just run up to you and talk to you, well, they're really trying to do it, but it's you can just tell they're not really interested. And that's fine. I'm not knocking it, but I see on your phone, I'm going to think, okay, they're not really rocking with whatever's going on. And that's what I don't want to happen to me when I'm doing radio, whether I'm doing podcast, producing, whatever it may be. I just realized that the phone could be a distraction. I can get sucked into that so easily.
And such a simple like productivity task, but most people are constantly on their phone. They feel like they need it as a source of like comfort. So
and don't get me
that
wrong.
Alone would be huge.
I think I need it sometimes, but then I have to remember I don't. It's a phone.
Yeah,
I will be fine. I will be good.
Yeah, I was fine back in the day before they were big. So
Yes, we have blown it up into everything. Our phones are everything. We have a lot of information, but it ain't everything.
Exactly. I want to circle back to mentorship. So outside of podcasting and being on the radio, you talk about being a mentor to teens. So can you just talk a little more about that?
Yeah, I'm a professional mentor with Friends of the Children Seattle. Basically, our job entitles of I have teens, so I get them in 6th grade. So I think 12, 13. I get them from 6th grade all the way through high school, their senior year until they graduate. My job is to essentially make sure that they graduate high school, prevent early parenting, and making sure they stay out of the system. 2 of those things I'm not too worried about. They're not, a lot of them aren't in the sex ain't really something that they worried about at their age. A couple of them, as they get to junior and senior year, okay, cool, but I'm not really worried about it. Jail, they're not really out in the streets. Graduation, though, is another whole ballgame. A lot of these kids just don't have the desire. And when I say desire, I'm talking, bro, I just need you to get a C. They're not even trying to do that.
Yeah.
They don't, they just don't have the, I got a D, that's passing. I'm like, that's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to go to trade school. Do you know what it takes to get into trade school? So for me, I'm dealing with now because I had them in 6th grade. They're all now in high school. I have one 7th grader. He transitioned to me last year, but the rest of them are in high school. One just graduated, and they're finding out how challenging it really is. Like they're realizing, oh dang, all the stuff he was telling me back in middle school. Oh, okay. And I'm trying to prepare them. I'm telling them, hey, you should join a club because it looks good on a resume. What's a resume, Chris? Oh, okay, I can tell you what a resume is. Now they're a junior. Oh, I want to apply for a job. Well, what's on your resume? I'm a student. You got good grades? Not really. Well, you can't put that down. You play any sports? Nope. Okay, so your resume is just a student. You're not in any clubs. So my job is to basically make sure that they're doing the things they need to do to go to the next level, whether it's college, trade school. But the biggest thing is I want to make sure they graduate, stay out the system, and prevent early parenting. So all those 3 things encompassed, that's what I do. And I see them, I have a caseload of 9 youth, and I see them Monday through Friday. So pretty much when I get off air around noon, I do some editing. I'll be out of the station by no later than 2:00. And then I pick up a youth, and they're all over King County. So Seattle, Kent, Auburn, North Seattle, Ballard area. I see each of them individually, sometimes pairing them Monday through Friday. And I'm doing all those things with them. Schoolwork, resume stuff, just preparing them and trying to help them in any way that they can so they can graduate and go on with their life. So that is my role there. And I've been there for a long time now.
That's huge, man. And what made you want to get into mentoring?
Connections. A lot of my jobs have come through knowing people. I didn't want this job because I'm not gonna lie to you. I hate these damn kids. Can't lie to you. Kids get on my nerve, man. But they pay me decently enough, and I'm able to make it work. So my homie, his name is Steph. I played flag football with him on the weekends growing up, and I was I was in community college at the time, so I was in my early 20s. And he was like telling me about this job that he was doing. I'm like, oh yeah, that's great, cool. You work with kids, ain't gonna be me. Can't stand them. So unless you're my cousins, my little cousins are cool, crazy. I love them. But random kids that I don't know, these kids bad as hell. I don't know if you've seen what's been going on in the news and whatnot, but this new generation of kids, man, they just bad. Like I thought I was bad growing up. Boy, these kids is bad. So anywho,
I work at elementary school, and I only work till 5th grade, and 5th graders talk back, so I can't even fathom.
Bruh, everything you dealing with, I'm dealing with. Everything. So anywho, he is telling me about the job, and I'm like, yeah, that's great. Let's play ball. So in that period, I remember I told you earlier on in the show, I said, my mom told me to take a break, a month off, and don't work, and I didn't. So one of my good friends, Kali, you know Kali? Yeah. He worked over at, there's a spot in somewhere, I forget where it was, but he had a job there. It was basically a hotel gig, reservations agent. And he was like, bro, I can get you on. I said, cool, because I need some money. So I ended up working there. And after like 10 months, I was like, yeah, this. I can't do this. I can't do this. It's a great job. I appreciate you, Carly, for hooking it up, but I can't do this anymore. And my boy Steph was like, hey, man, you would do great here. You'd be a great mentor, man. The kids will love you. You're doing your radio. You're doing your podcast. You do all these things. You'd be great. Because at the time I was doing the podcast. I wasn't in radio yet, but I was doing the podcast. He's like, bro, you'd be great, man. You're great with kids. I know it. And I'm just like, bro, I hate kids. And he was like, bro, I already told them about you. How about you apply? I'm like, why would you tell them about me? Like, you've already
right, my name's out there.
Yeah. And he's like, bro, just apply. And I'm like, my resume doesn't even look anything like it needs to for this type of job.
For kids.
I've worked, like, it just says podcaster. What am I going to do with this? And he was like, bro, how about this? You send your resume to me and my wife. We'll make it work. I'm like, whatever. I needed a job because I was trying to quit the one that C-State hooked me up with. So I ended up getting out of that. I applied for the job and I got an interview. And I was like, oh, God, I got an interview? I didn't think I was going to get the interview just because it don't line up. But Steph he must have gave the greatest reference because they interviewed me. And I thought I did a really good job in the interview. I thought I did a really good job because I was like, yeah, I could probably get it. And sure enough, I got it. And I was like, oh, damn, I really got it. I went from podcasting to now trying to mentor. It's like, this is crazy. So that's how I got that job. And I've been there for, going on 6 years now. So shout out to my boy Steph. He put in a good word and I got lucky enough and got it. But it's really a connection. So when people tell you, oh, it's great to get your degree, it's even better when you got connections and people that can vouch for you and say, I know his resume is blah, 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 but he's really good with A, B, and C. And he will change kids' lives, blah, 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 whatever the case may be. So he was that for me. And that's how I ended up getting this full-time gig that allows me to still do the sports radio, to still do the podcast. Because technically, they only want you to do one thing there. They want you to be a professional mentor. They don't want, I think there's only a handful of people that might be doing multiple things. But for the most part, they want you there, like all attention there. But they realized, I don't know what they realized. They just gave me a chance and they said, cool, we can work with it. And so far I've been there and it's, it pays the bills. Like I said, I'm not the biggest kids guy. I complain all the time about it to my fiance. She hear about it every day. But I make it work because I get to do podcasts. I get to do radio. So it kind of all evens out, per se.
Yeah, definitely. So just real quick before we wrap this up, a typical day for yourself. Now with your current role, as a co-host of your own show on the radio, what does a typical day look like for you now?
Typical day, get up at 7, station. I'm there by 8:30, prepping for the show. If we have a guest, coming up with questions to ask guests. And then we go live, 10 to noon. Locked in, off the phone, talking sports. And then as soon as that ends, the night prior, I had reached out to the parents. Hey, is such and such still available for an outing? Cool. Go pick up the kid, go grab lunch, go over goals, movie. We'll find something fun to do, take them home. So I'm done probably around 6, 7. And then after that, I'm chilling, whether it's watching the NBA Finals just wrapped up. So now it's Mariners baseball and all these other sports and reading on The Athletic, playing video games, playing Madden, complaining about Madden not changing. So the typical day is literally, I know. Typical day is now, 7 a.m. get up, in bed by no later than 11 to midnight. But, from 8:30 to about 6 o'clock is just working. And, I can't complain. It's not bad. And I'm trying to transition into new roles within Friends. So hopefully in the next 6 months to a year, I can have something else because I can't be a mentor forever. I'm not trying to be 40 years old driving kids around. That's not my vibe. Because it's a great organization, but I see myself doing more. I'm not about to be a mentor at 40. Can't do it. That's not my role. I've done it. Graduated one youth so far. Congratulations to that young man. Got through it. He did it. And now I got a couple more to get through. But in the meantime, I'm also looking at, okay, how can I work in this organization in a different role and still bring some positivity and all the things that they loved about me to hire me and still do that? So that's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, that's a typical day. Listen to podcasts, bumping new music. But yeah, pretty chill. It's about to get real busy though, as I said, with the Seahawks training camp. My day is about to be gonna get busier because during the NFL season, obviously when there's a Monday night game, that changes the outings. When there's a Thursday night game, that changes the outings. When there's a Sunday night game, that makes it even more of a challenge just because we still record that night. The game was at 5 o'clock. It'll end at 8. My boy Mike will write a story that I'll probably drop around. He'll be done back at home around midnight. So sometimes we start recording at like 1 a.m. So from 1 a.m. till 2 o'clock, and then I'll just wake up real early and edit, and then post it that same morning. So that's why I'm not a big fan of Monday night games, because I'm like, damn, I got to be up late.
Grind.
And I'm complaining. My boy Mike, he's flying all across the country doing that. I'm like, I'm not going to complain to Mike because I know it's minute to him. But for everybody else, I'm tired, So it just becomes more of a grind in the NFL season. But thank God is what? 4.5, 5 months. It's not like an NBA season where I'd be like, bruh, tip off at 7 o'clock, man. But I enjoy it. It's fun. And we've built the Seahawks Man to Man podcast has built a nice little community. We're still growing, and we're excited what this season can bring because we're only getting better. And the best pod we ever did was having Pete Carroll on. I know he's no longer with the Seahawks, but I had seen him a couple of times, and Mike has always had conversations with him, and he wants to come on our show. And we were like, bro, whenever you want to come on, we will make time.
Yeah, we'll make space, yeah.
And when he finally agreed and we had a date set, I was just excited because now I get to really talk to him. And the best thing you can hear from a head coach in the NFL is, that's a great question. And when he said, that's a great question, Chris, I was just like, what more can I say? I'm doing the thing.
I'm done.
Pete Carroll said, that's a great question, Christopher. I said, oh. And I just take those things. I'm not taking them for granted, but it's just really cool because there's no way I would have thought growing up I'd get a chance to talk to Pete Carroll. I get a chance to speak to Coach Holmgren pretty much damn near, especially during the season, once a week. And we chop it up. And Coach Holmgren's one of the coolest dudes. I remember playing Madden 04 and seeing Coach Holmgren. That's the same dude that I used to see on my video game who I never thought I would ever meet. I see him Monday mornings and I'm chopping it up with Coach Holmgren about NBA, about life, about traveling, marriage, you name it. Chris, how are you doing? Oh, I'm listening to you on the radio. You sound great. You guys are doing a great job. It's like, man, this is crazy to me. Coach Holmgren, not your high school coach. Professional guy that went to the Super Bowl, coached the Packers, Holmgren. So it's just really cool. And I don't take it for granted. It's really dope that I've built these type of relationships and these people know my name and I know their names. It's really cool what radio and just connections can do. It's really awesome. It's really cool. So if you're out there wanting to get in anything, just make sure you got some people in your pocket that you can just hit up and text, because you never know how far that text chain can go that can get you to where you want to be.
Most definitely. What has been your proudest moment so far? You brought that up. So what has been your proudest moment in all of you've achieved so far?
Man, there's a couple. Getting my degree, because I was the first in my family to do so. My parents graduated high school, but college was just not in their plans. They wanted to get money, and I can't be mad at them. Growing up in their era, you go to college, man, you got to have some bread. And the bread wasn't there like they wanted it, but they knew how to make some money. So they went out and started hustling. But I knew that to be where I want to be, I needed to have a degree. It might not put me ahead of anyone, but it kept me in competition. That resume wasn't thrown to the side because it just says O'Day High School diploma. Okay. Had a little more to it. So that's one moment that And the second one, the fact that I'm doing radio. I'll never forget when a homie was like, he hit me up on Twitter. He was like, bro, I've been listening to you, man. I'm proud of you, bro. I'm like, what? Because I don't know who listens. I never made an announcement. There wasn't, hey guys, I'm doing this. If you follow me on social media, then you just see it. I might just post it, but I've never been a person to put out the things that I've done or am doing. I might have a kid. You won't know till you run into me. Oh, Chris, you have a kid? Yeah. but that's just how I roll. I get it from my dad. I just work in the dark, and then when the lights turn on, wow, I didn't even know.
By the way.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I've been. So yeah, those two things are huge for me, man. Just I can't believe that I'm doing it. You know, it's just crazy to me. I used to listen to the Jubal Show back in the day. My mom would take me to school sometimes, and she would have it on 106.3 FM, and I'd hear the Jubal Show. I see Jubal every day now. I rap with Jubal, talk to him all the time. He's the homie. And when I first met him, I was like, bro, this is crazy. It's probably you probably be, you know, whatever how you feel about it. But when I was growing up, my mom used to have you playing in a car. I remember the pranks she would do, my G. He still does the pranks to this day, but it just resonated differently because now we're in the same building. Although he's doing, you know, not sports radio, he's doing music and just talk radio. We're in the building and I get to see him. And that was kind of like, wow, there's Jubal. Holy crap. What's good, man? And every time I see him, it's all love. So that's crazy. I used to listen to Cube 93, TJ, or what was it, T-Man and all them. Never met T-Man, but I'm in that category. I'm in that type of, oh, you do this. Oh, yeah. Also, you know, yeah, I know that. Yeah. So it's yeah, that's a proud moment. Just being in this type of industry is hard, but I'm in it right now. And if I'm in it for another 6 months and they fire me, I got to say I did it. That's how I would look at it. And then it's on to the next step. But right now I'm soaking it all in, looking to be better than I was last week and continue the growth and see where it takes me because I don't know where it's going to take me. I don't have a calendar that says, oh, in 6 months I want to be here. My process has always been head down, bust your ass, look up. Oh, this is where I'm at. Wow. Okay. Well, keep going. Oh, I'm up here now. Okay. Keep going. That's kind of how I've done it. There's never been, oh yeah, next year I want to do this. I stopped doing that, I think, around college. Like I stopped writing down, oh, these are my goals. Because for me, if I'm working hard, I think good things will happen. If I'm not working hard, then I'll see that, oh, damn, I got to do something. Something's got to change. But with hard work, you realize things start to fall in place. People notice it. It doesn't go unnoticed unless you're, I don't know how it can go unnoticed. When you're working hard, people notice it. It's very hard to work hard. And I never knew this guy. Someone's going to be like, oh, yeah. He or she works very hard. So that's always been my motto.
And that's what's up, man, because being completely honest, I listened to you in the morning when you first started, you know, on the morning show, you know, Chuck and Buck. And then, you know, I started listening to Jim and Puck, or Puck and Jim. Yeah. And it's just crazy, man, because it's just like, you know, you were in the background. They'd ask you questions from time to time, you know, say your little snippet, you know, and then now seeing you have your own show. It's really cool to see all that manifest, man. So congratulations on all of that.
Appreciate it, man. It's been a journey. I wish it would have been different because I really love working with Puck and Jim. Those are two dudes that I think they believe more in me than I believe in myself. Because Puck would always joke around and say, you're going to be doing this slot. I'm like, bruh, can I just produce? Can I just make sure your show sounds great and people are entertained? And when you ask questions, I can give an answer. And he would always tell me, Chris, feel free to speak, bro. Like, you're part of the show too. And I'm like, I hear you, but we only got X amount of time to do this segment. I can't, you have a co-host. And I respect you for wanting me to have a voice, but I know my role. And I know when the time comes, I will do so. My time is now. I wish it was in a different aspect of things, but I don't get to pick and choose when the opportunities come.
Most definitely.
But I definitely wasn't
ready for him.
Just gotta be ready for him. So Puck has been my number one ally, pretty much, because he was one of the dudes that a few years, 2 years ago, me and my boy Mike had our own show on Saturdays. And that was great. Every Saturday from 9 to 11, we would do our radio show, and it was great. And I want to do it again. And eventually maybe we will, but it's just crazy how Puck and Jim played a role in me being where I'm at today. There are so many people that helped me out, but giving a shout to Puck and Jim is definitely number one on my list as well, just because those two dudes believed in me. They would always joke, yeah, Chris, you're going to be doing 10 to 1 sooner than later. We're going to be fired and whatnot. I didn't want it to happen. I'm seeing a lot of people like, oh, what happened, Chris? This is just the industry. And
definitely.
Puck is doing his dang thing now with his Puck Sports on YouTube. So if you guys are wondering where he's at, he's doing fine. He's doing good. I watch his shows regularly. He's funny. He's still doing his own thing. I miss working with him every day, but that's just how the business works. And Jim is also doing well. He's retired finally. He ain't got to.
Yeah.
That's one thing. I know a lot of the people that are probably watching like, who are fucking Jim? But those are just two guys that I work with, two hosts that I work with producing their show, and things didn't work out the way it needed to, and I got thrust into the position to run 10 to noon and be a co-host as well with the Greg Bell Show. So it's just been quite the journey, and I appreciate you for your support, because I don't know who listens, but every now and then I'll run into someone like, you on the air? Yeah. Oh, I can tell by your voice.
Yeah.
I listen. Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's cool. I was at Subway, matter of fact, and dude was like, are you Chris Kidd? I was like, yeah. He's like, I can hear it in the voice. Love the show, by the way. I was like, appreciate it, man. Thank you. So it's just cool. You never know who's listening.
Yeah,
you never know.
Definitely.
Never know who's listening,
That's
who's
really
watching.
Cool, man.
So for me, it's just been like, yo, I've been on TV. Like, what? I didn't think growing up as a kid I'd be on TV talking Seahawks. I think I got set. Really? Sorry. I don't know if you heard that. Hopefully you did. But
no.
Nonetheless, the journey's just been crazy. It's been crazy. I can't complain. Being on television, being on the radio, it's been fun. I'm not acting like I'm this celebrity, because I'm not. I'm just a regular guy from Seattle, grew up in South Seattle, went to O'Day, and I'm just enjoying what I'm doing. And to be in the position and be in the place I've traveled and people I've met and seen, I cannot complain. And there's more to come. More to come. I don't know what it is that's coming, but I'm gonna take it stride by stride and put my best foot forward, and I'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm gonna keep my head down, keep grinding, look up. Oh, damn, I'm here. Okay, cool. Back to it.
Christopher, man, it's been really cool to see that. And from the outside in, been a fan, for a long time, and nothing but positivity going your way. Is there any way people can follow you or reach out or keep in touch with all that you're doing?
Yeah, so Twitter is kind of my, that's where I'm at a lot. And that is CKIDD206. I'm all over the place. I'm not just Seahawks. I know my friend Mike is mainly Seahawks because that's what he covers. But with me, you're going to get a little bit of everything. So don't go on there expecting for me to just be a radio host and talking about the Mariners. And no, you might see me talking about whatever. So I'm very open. Even on my Instagram, people would probably not think that I am a host, producer, personality on sports radio, and a podcaster, because right now I'm in the off season and I can do whatever and say whatever. So you might see movie clips. I'm just all over the place. There's nothing that I won't do for the most part. So, but I would say, yeah, Twitter, you can follow me, CKIDD206, and then every day, Monday through Friday. If you want to hear what I'm all about, hop on. We're on KJR 93.3 FM. You guys remember that's Cube. We're now a sports talk radio, and I'm on every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon with Greg Bell. He covers the Seahawks for the Tacoma News Tribune. He does really great work, and now he's doing radio. So you got two guys doing radio, and we're having a blast. So, again, you can follow me on Twitter, CKid206. And every day, check us out on the radio station, 93.3 FM. Just turn that dial in your car, or if you have the iHeartMedia app, you can just listen to us for free. Just go ahead and download it. Search 93.3 KJR FM. We pop right up, and 10 to noon, I am on the airwaves.
Christopher, thank you again for joining the Hustler's Handbook podcast. You gave us a lot of great information. It's great to see how much you've done and see your persistence and consistency has shown, and the success is there, man. So keep going hard, and I want to see you with your own show on TV sometime, man. And
if I get my own TV show, man, I might disappear. I don't know what would happen.
Yeah.
But right now I'm taking it where I'm at and enjoying the process, because it's not guaranteed. Like I said, they could fire my ass next week. It happens. I've seen it. I remember working as a assistant morning producer. They had the Cube 93 morning show. There used to be 3 of them. They fired somebody. Couldn't believe it. I said, what? And that's when I knew. Oh, I'm not guaranteed. And I asked the assistant program director, am I good? He was like, you're okay. I was like, okay, I just got here. Like, I'm making nothing. You guys could easily cut me, but I've made it. So I'm not taking it for granted. I'm enjoying it, busting my butt, and having fun. That's one thing you can do. I'm in the entertainment business. Have fun, try to make people smile, make them laugh, but also talk a little sports. And I think doing that, I think I should be okay.
Keep hustling, man. You're doing what you love, and it shows, man. Keep it up, and thank you again for being on the show.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to the Hustler's Handbook podcast. I hope you found today's episode as inspiring and insightful as I did. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your fellow hustlers. Keep pushing, keep striving, and remember, the hustle never stops. See you next time.